You'll be told, sorry, we're too busy, come back again tomorrow. But if you are yet to get your tickets, you can speak to either Driver James or any of our ticket sellers, as not only do they sell you tickets, they do so at a discounted price. Isn't that right, James? Yeah, fantastic. So, here we go, you'll get that view of Edinburgh Castle there. And we'll be heading up to George Street, the street that we saw from St Andrew's Square. And we'll be heading right towards the very end of it. And when we get to the end, we'll see some rather odd looking windows. And I mention them now just because we don't have a lot of time at the other end. But these windows look like they've been painted on. They've actually been painted over, thanks to window tax, a temporary tax introduced during the Georgian era by one of our Prime Ministers, William Pitt the Younger, and it said if you had more than 6 windows in your house, you had to pay a little bit of money to the government. Now the Georgians loved their windows. It was a status symbol. The more you had, the higher in regard you were held. So they didn't really want to get rid of any of their windows, nor did they want to pay all that money that came with having lots of them. So they found a loophole. They realised they could block windows out with black paint. That would mean no light would get through, and it would not be classified as a window. Left and right hand side, you'll see them just here, right at the very, very end of the street. So, because they were not classified as windows, they wouldn't be taxed, but they would still look like windows from the outside, as you can see here. So that is what they were after, the Georgians, the look of a window rather than the functionality of one. That's where we get the phrase daylight robbery from as well, because the Georgians believed that Pitt the Younger, he was robbing them of their daylight. And we'll be making our way into Charlotte Square here. Now we've got stop number 3 coming up. So this will be for the Dean Village, a little rural part of Edinburgh that used to be its own village before it got absorbed into the city. We've also got the Georgian House Museum, a museum dedicated to the Protestant Reformer, a museum dedicated to the Georgian era. I'm getting my museums confused here. So, Georgian House.
This is just light.
Are you guys wanting to jump off? Sorry. No. No one's wanting to disembark at stop 3. Very much, James. So Charlotte Square was going to be called St George Square, so that at one end of George Street we would have St Andrew, patron saint of Scotland, and this end we'd have the patron saint of England. But we already have a George Square in the old town, so we couldn't quite name it St George, so we went with Charlotte Square after Queen Charlotte again. And the grass part of the square is unfortunately private access, much like Queen Street Gardens. But in the centre you will see a statue of Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband. And this statue was designed by William Pitt the I'm getting people confused. I've not had my morning coffee yet, folks. I do apologise. It was designed by a chap called Sir John Steele. He was the same man that designed the statue of the Duke of Wellington that we saw at the beginning of the tour. And he also designed the statue of Sir Walter Scott on Princes Street. And John Steele actually earned his knighthood for this statue of Prince Albert, because Queen Victoria, she was so taken with the likeness of the statue to her late husband that she knighted John Steele right then and there on the spot. Now this view that we're getting of the statue, the back of Prince Albert's head and the back of the horse he's riding, this is the same view that Queen Victoria would have got when she first entered the square from Queen Street. And because she instantly recognised her husband, this has led some people, not myself of course, but it has led some people to claim that this was Queen Victoria's way of saying that Prince Albert had a face like a horse's backside, which is obviously not true. Famously, they were very much in love. Queen Victoria spending the rest of her life in mourning after her husband passed away. And we'll be making our way back onto Queen Street shortly. Just before we get there though, on the left we'll pass by a monument to Catherine Sinclair, a children's author and philanthropist here in the Georgian era. And she was actually very good friends with Sir Walter Scott. She was in fact the lady responsible for making him famous. And so he had been using a pen name up until this point, as he was also a lawyer, and being a lawyer and a writer was a bit of a taboo thing to be. But then Catherine Sinclair exposed his real name, and we learned what was going on. We said, you know what, Sir Walter, seeing as you're bringing so many people to the country and to the city, we'll let this slide. You can be a lawyer and a writer. Now, this is where we will be starting our diversion, so we'll be heading up Castle Street again. If you are wanting to explore the new town a little bit more, just let us know by giving us a wee wave or press the red button. But no, cool. So you'll get that view of Edinburgh Castle again, just in case you weren't able to get a photo of it first time round. And there's been some sort of man-made structure up where the castle is ever since the Bronze Age. Just goes to show how sort of well fortified and well guarded that rock is. We'll be making our way up the street here, and this is where you can see what I was talking about when a lot of the buildings look rather similar. You can see a lot of them use the same stonework, same sort of design, sort of. But yeah. Now George Street, we'll be heading onto that again. You may think looks a bit wider than most streets. Well, that is to allow for horses and carts. So this middle section of the road you see here, this filled with parked cars. Obviously this would not have been around during the Georgian era. Cars had not been invented then. Instead it was used so that horses and carts could make a U-turn and head back in the same direction they came from. And as we make our way down, we'll also pass by the Alexander Graham Bell pub there on your left hand side. The pub itself, not hugely interesting, but it's named after Mr. Graham Bell because he actually was born not too far from here. In fact, we'll see a little blue door right by some traffic lights on the right hand side. That is where he was born, before shortly emigrating with the rest of his family to Canada, which is where he invented the telephone. And we're going to be making our way to stop number 5. This will be for Lothian Road. It's where you can visit our lovely churches, St. Cuthbert's and St. John's, and you can also visit the Johnny Walker experience, an immersive tour all about the whisky distillery process. You even get a few free samples of whisky at the end of the tour. However, there is a rule in Edinburgh: if you get a free sample of whisky, you have to bring one back for your tour guide. So just remember that, yeah? So again, if you are wanting to disembark, give me a big wave or press the red button, but nobody on the top deck's wanting to disembark. For stop 5, very much. Thanks, James. So on your left hand side, through the trees here, you will just be able to spot St. Cuthbert's, a rather famous church. And as it is where Agatha Christie had her second marriage. Now this was a rather controversial marriage, not just because it was her second one, but because she was marrying a man significantly younger.